Welcome to the Alp English Podcast. My name is Claire.
And my name is Marcus. Today, we will tell you an easy story in English for B1, B2 level learners. The title of our story is The Brave Knight and the Blue Ribbon.
We will speak clearly and not too fast so you can understand and practice your listening. At the end, we will also explain some useful words from the story.
Now, relax and imagine a green valley, a stone castle, and the sound of horses.
Let's begin.
Many years ago, in the kingdom of Greenford, there was a castle called Hilltop Castle. The castle stood on a high hill above a small town. In the castle lived King Robert, Queen Elena, and their daughter, Princess Isabel.
Near the castle, at the bottom of the hill, there was a farm. On that farm lived a boy named Thomas. Thomas was not a knight yet. He worked with his father, fed the chickens, and helped in the fields. But every night, when he looked up at the castle walls, he dreamed of wearing armor and riding a horse as a real knight.
Sometimes, Thomas could see the king's knights training in the yard. They wore shining armor, they used swords and shields, and their horses were strong and fast. Thomas wished he could join them, but he thought, I am only a farmer's son. Nobody will choose me.
One day, the king made an announcement. In 3 days, there would be a big festival at Hilltop Castle. There would be music, food, games, and a special test of courage for young men. The winner would be invited to train as a squire. A squire is a young helper who learns to become a knight.
When Thomas heard the news, his heart started to beat faster. He wanted to try, but he was also afraid. What if I fail, he thought. What if everyone laughs at me?
Thomas had a little sister called Anna. Anna saw that her brother was worried. Thomas, she said, you always help everyone. You fix fences for our neighbors. You help old Mrs. Miller carry water from the well. I think you are already brave. She took a small blue ribbon from her hair. Here, Anna said, if you decide to try the test, wear this blue ribbon on your arm. It will remind you that I believe in you.
Thomas smiled and put the ribbon in his pocket. He was not sure yet, but he liked the idea. 2 days later, the festival day arrived. People from all the nearby villages came to the castle. There were colorful tents, music from flutes and drums, and the smell of bread and roast meat in the air.
In the afternoon, the king's messenger stood in the yard and shouted, Young men of Greenford, the test of courage begins now. If you want to try, come forward. Several boys and young men stepped out of the crowd. Thomas felt his legs move almost without thinking. He remembered Anna's words and the blue ribbon in his pocket.
He took the ribbon out, tied it around his arm, and walked towards the other boys. His chains were shaking, but he stayed in the line. The test of courage was divided into 3 parts. First, the boys had to run up and down a small hill while carrying a heavy shield. Second, they had to lead a horse through a short obstacle course without losing control. Third, they had to stand in front of the king and answer one simple question. What does courage mean to you?
The first part was hard. The shield was heavy and the sun was hot. Many boys quickly became tired and stopped running. Thomas also felt weak, but when he looked at the blue ribbon on his arm, he thought of his sister and finished the run, even if he wasn't the fastest.
In the second part, some boys pulled the horse too hard. Others were too afraid and let the horse walk wherever it wanted. Thomas spoke to the horse in a calm voice and held the reins gently. He did not go very fast, but the horse stayed close to him and passed all the obstacles.
Finally, Thomas stood in front of the king. His legs felt like stone, but he took a deep breath. King Robert looked at him and asked, Thomas, son of the farmer, what does courage mean to you? Thomas thought for a moment and then answered, For me, courage is not being perfect. Courage is trying to do the right thing even when you are scared and even when you are not sure you will succeed.
The king smiled a little when he heard this. He thanked Thomas and sent him back to the others. At the end of the test, the king and queen spoke quietly with each other and with the knights. Then King Robert raised his hand and the yard became silent. He said, "We saw many kinds of strength today. Some of you are very fast, some of you are very strong. But true courage is more than strong arms. It is also a strong heart." He turned towards Thomas. "Thomas, son of the farmer, you did not run the fastest and you are not the strongest, but you finished every part of the test. You treated the horse with respect and you gave an answer that shows wisdom. If you wish, you may come to the castle and train here as a squire."
Thomas could not believe his ears. For a moment he stood still. Then he remembered to bow. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I will work hard and do my best."
From the crowd, he heard a high voice shout, "Thomas did it!" It was Anna. She was jumping up and down and waving both arms in the air. He looked at the blue ribbon on his arm and smiled.
That evening, when the sun went down behind the hills, Thomas walked back to the farm with Anna. He was very tired, but also very happy. Anna looked at him and asked, "Are you afraid to start training at the castle?" "A little," Thomas said honestly. "But now I know that being afraid is normal. The important thing is what we do even when we are afraid."
A few weeks later, Thomas moved into the castle and began his new life as a squire. He cleaned armor, fed the horses, and learned to use a sword and shield. Sometimes he made mistakes, but he always tried again. Whenever he felt weak or nervous, he touched the place on his arm where the blue ribbon had been. The ribbon was now carefully kept in a small box, but the memory of it stayed in his mind. Years passed and Thomas finally became Sir Thomas, a real knight of Greenford. People in the town often told his story to their children. They did not speak only about his strong arms or his good skills with a sword. They spoke about the time when he was still a shy farm boy, and a little sister gave him a simple blue ribbon to help him remember that someone believed in him. And so, in Greenford, when someone needed courage for an exam, a journey, or a difficult conversation, friends sometimes gave each other a small blue ribbon as a symbol of support. Now, the story of the brave knight and the blue ribbon is finished.
Before we go, let's explain a few useful words from this episode. A knight is a trained soldier from the past, usually on a horse, who served a king or queen.
Armor is metal clothing that protects the body in battle.
A squire is a young helper who learns to become a knight.
A ribbon is a long, thin piece of cloth, often used as decoration or a small gift.
Courage means doing something difficult or dangerous even when you feel afraid.
If you are learning English at B1, B2 level, you can listen to this story again, pause when you need, and repeat some parts out loud. You can also answer this question. When was a time in your life when you needed courage? What helped you in that moment?
You can write your answer or say it out loud.
Thank you for listening to the Alp English Podcast.
My name is Claire.
And my name is Marcus.
See you in the next episode.